You are listening to the Magnetic Mag Podcast. Magnetic Mag Podcast.
So, hi, this is David with Magnetic Magazine. We're here with REZZ, aka Isabel Razazadeh, and we are going to talk a little bit about your career so far, your music, and obviously you are our #1 pick for new emerging artists for 2015. So, congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
Let's start off with some of the basic questions. You're 20 years old, you live in Niagara Falls. How does that kind of affect the way you make your music? Obviously, the climate is, in the summer, lots of tourists, in the winter, really cold. So how does that kind of have an impact on what you do and your kind of, your music style?
I feel like it's had a positive impact for me just because the majority of the year is winter and kind of, gloomy weather. It kind of makes me feel more comfortable about staying inside all the time working on music. Whereas opposed to in the summer, I can notice the distraction, like when it's like so nice out, sometimes I want to go outside and tan and like do whatever. And just like in the summer, I feel more like urged to go out and party and do whatever, So in the winter, I don't feel whatsoever. I don't feel any sort of desire to go outside or do anything. So it's like kind of forces me to be more productive and work on music, But as for living here, there's nothing, like there's no real club scene here, so I haven't been inspired by anything particularly here. It's mainly Toronto, which is just about an hour and a half away, that's got me really inspired by this kind of music because of seeing like deadmau5 perform there and like just like a bunch of different artists. I've seen so many artists perform in Toronto, like Gesaffelstein and just everyone, and just overall the Toronto scene is just so passionate about like dance music, and that's kind of me going there by myself, like literally taking buses when I was like 16, not even legal to go into these clubs. I was just going and trying to find my way in, and I'd always find a way, and like I'd even go by myself. Like sometimes I wouldn't even have anybody to go with because nobody here at the time really even liked dance music. So it was just kind of like me on my own and just doing whatever. I was like so crazy about going to these shows too. If I missed out on one like that I wanted to see, I'd be like devastated.
So, I mean,
Back in the day.
It's obvious Toronto's becoming a powerhouse in electronic music. I was just recently up there, and it's an incredible city. So, do you see yourself eventually kind of migrating over there once you get a little older?
You know what? That's a good question. I don't think I'm gonna. I might, but I don't know. The thing is, just recently I bought my first car, and now that I have a car, I feel less eager to like make the move to Toronto. I mean, first of all, I like living at my parents' house here in Niagara Falls because it's actually chill, and I like my parents are really cool and they like super supportive of what I do and stuff. So like I don't really want to move out. I remember there's been so many times in my life where I'm like, I can't wait to move out. Like, oh my God, like screw this city. Like I just want to leave. But like, sure. No, it's just like, it's completely different now. Like at this age now, I'm like 20 and I just feel like I don't need to move out at all. I have all the freedom I want. And especially now that I have a car, I have like insane freedom. So if I want to go to Toronto and do whatever Toronto has to offer, I can just do that whenever I want now. Like I can just drive there and it doesn't take that long. And that's that. I might eventually maybe move to Toronto when I'm like, I don't know, maybe like 23, 24. So like that's a while from now. Sure. But like I'm thinking if I do move out, it'll be a few years from now. But like I just feel absolutely no rush to do so right now. Like that's pretty much where I stand at this moment.
Yeah, maybe that's something that makes you a little bit more productive is having that balance of being able to go into it and get out of it. I think a lot of artists like to have that a little bit of solitude, and because if you're surrounded by it all the time, it kind of kills your spirit a little bit.
Exactly. If I'm back here in the Falls, like in my room that I'm in right now, like it is the definition of home. Like, you know what I mean? Like it, like there's nothing here that feels similar to like Toronto or being out in a different city performing or anything. Like if I'm here, it just feels like I'm just at my house. Like honestly, like nothing's changed,
So with the environment that you're in, obviously with the winters, they cause you to be indoors. How did you get started in electronic music? Was that, did you have a musical background before? Were you playing instruments and you just kind of, gravitated towards it because you had all that downtime? What was the nexus of all that?
As like a young girl and stuff, like I wasn't really into music that much, like not really into like I wasn't like passionate about it. Like I was just like whatever. I wasn't playing any instruments or anything, but I would notice in music classes and stuff, if we ever had to do anything rhythm based, like anything to do with rhythm, I noticed that I would excel at that, and I always knew that I had good rhythm. Like even though I didn't really care for music that much when I was a kid, I just knew I had a skill in that. Like just like I knew I could something about like counting beats and just being able to keep on a beat. And I would notice that other people would struggle with that, and I'd be like, oh, and maybe I'm just like good at it, whatever. Though I didn't really care. But then what ended up happening was I found dance music by myself, like when I was like just like strolling on the internet this one time. I actually remember because I was just on the internet, I was on YouTube searching up random videos, and I think I stumbled upon a video of Tiesto. I think he was the first person that I saw, like, and this was like such a brief thing. Like I literally just saw a video of him like performing, I think at like some very big event. And I thought that was really cool, but I never thought I want to make music or I want to be him. I literally just thought I want to be at that show. Like I just want to go to that concert because that looked really cool. And then I also saw videos of Afrojack and stuff like that. This is like a long time ago, right? Like years ago. And I just thought it was cool to even imagine being at that show. It seemed like almost a dream of mine just to go to a concert like that. And through time, I was just collecting, I was just searching more and more music. Like, at that point, a couple of years later, I probably had only dance music on my, like, computer, and I was collecting so much different music. And sometimes when I'd be, like, out at my friends or, like, at parties, I'd always be the one playing the music, just choosing what to play type thing. And I didn't really think much of it until one day got asked to DJ a high school Halloween dance. No. And also a semi-formal, but first thing was the Halloween dance.
It always starts at the school dance. That's where it starts.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's just been such a weird thing. Like this whole thing has just been so weird because even then, after I got asked to do that Halloween dance, even then I didn't think anything of it at all. I was like, yeah, sure, like I'll make the playlist or whatever for this Halloween dance and do whatever. But I didn't think at all that I would ever make a career, like at all. It was not even a thought in my head. Like some people would say it, they'd be like, oh, you can actually like make a career out of this, like DJing. And I was like, nah, like I don't really think that would happen at all. And
sure.
And I would just like occasionally I'd have very occasional gigs like playing at random like Toronto. I played like a couple very small gigs. Like honestly, like I've actually played at like actual raves, like seriously under a like some sketchy roof, like I don't even know. It was so long ago, but
I think raves and sketchy are kind of have the same, are synonymous these days.
Exactly. And like I barely got paid for it or anything. I just literally was doing it. I was actually talking to my friend about this. Like there's a couple gigs that I played. By the way, I should really put emphasis on the fact that this was before I started producing music. I was just DJing at this point, and I was barely getting paid for these shows or anything. I literally was just doing it because I wanted to go out there because it's just so much fun to DJ for a crowd. You know what I mean? Like that was that was like all I cared about. Like, my parents just totally thought it was just all for fun, which it was at the time, like completely all for fun. And obviously right now it is still all for fun too, but
yeah,
you know,
it's always going to be fun.
But exactly. So yeah, there's like a bunch of different things that were leading up to this, but it was once I saw a couple key performances that really shifted my mindset towards wanting to DJ to wanting to produce. And then those were definitely moments like seeing deadmau5 at Hard Day of the Dead in 2013 and like seeing a bunch of artists. I would notice that I was very much getting attracted to this like slower BPM type stuff, and I would literally notice it like even in like my movements that I was feeling it so much more than like most people were in the audience. Like they would just be like, yeah, bro, this is sick. Whereas I'd be like, no, like I really, 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 really understand this kind of music. And I started to slowly but surely get inspired by it. Like not only in a way I just listen to it on my headphones, but I was like, I want to be creating something like this. I should try. Like I feel like I could make kind of slower BPM music and make it my own in a way, you know?
Mm-hmm. I guess that kind of leads me to the next question is that you obviously started off listening to the big mainstream guys, but do you have any kind of a background in like sci-fi flicks or any kind of stuff like that as to kind of, you know, that might have led you to this more slower kind of edgier sound? Like,
Well,
what kind of
yeah,
what
to
kind
be
of
honest,
movies and music did you like before?
there's a few things. I feel like a lot of things, like even just random feelings of nostalgia of like when I was a young, like I'm talking like when I was like 5, 6 years old, like even just being downstairs, like my brother used to live with us like down in the basement, like back in, oh my god, I was just so young. And I just remember always had going downstairs and be like, can I come downstairs? And he'd be like, yeah, sure. And then whatever, I'd go down there, and just everything about the stuff that he had, like he had a bunch of really cool action figures, and just the vibe in his room, like, he was not like a gothic kid whatsoever. He was just like your typical like teenage boy, but like his room was really cool, and like he had everything was very like on the darker end. Like his action figures were all so dark, and everything was so creepy. And I just thought it was cool. Like I was never creeped out by it. I just thought it was very cool. And I'm not saying like that particularly fully inspires what I make today, but it's definitely a part of it. When I think about the vibes that I felt in his room
Yeah.
sometimes I can like recreate those vibes through music. It's stuff like that, just random experiences, like, but for some reason that's one of the first things that comes to my head, just because thinking about it now, and just everything, just random stuff like that. There's probably so much more that I'm inspired by that I've yet to figure out where this music comes from, but it's like it's so like potent in my head. Like I couldn't make any other style. Like if you tried to get me to make some sort of very jolly, happy music. And although I'm such a happy person, I honestly can't find that in me to like make music like that, you know?
Yeah, no,
And
it makes sense. You can tell by
yeah,
listening to most of it. It's got an edge to it.
and also like watching like shows like Goosebumps and like Are You Afraid of the Dark when I was like very young, like shows like that. Once again, I'm not saying it's like the prime inspiration for me, but it's just all comes together. And just even watching like oh my god, I don't even know, just watching random TV shows, like the vibes that they would give me. Like I remember there was like, oh, there's just so many random TV shows on Teletoon. Like there's one called The Head, and one called like there was like Ren and Stimpy and everything. All those shows combined, those like little creepy cartoons, like they all inspire me somehow in some way, you know?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It sounds like your brother and his action figure. I bet he was into like Hellboy and movies like that. Probably rubbed off on you a lot.
Yeah, yeah, literally, exactly. Hellboy, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I almost like I can hear your music sounds like it could be a score to a lot of those movies. Like I don't know if you've ever seen
Yeah,
Blade Runner. Have you seen that one?
yeah, I have seen that one,
That's
and I
kind of a classic. But I could see your
and
music
seriously,
working with that.
I know I see that too. For like, I would like to do that actually one day too. Make a score for a movie. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I don't know if you know who Jeff Mills is, but he did a kind of a cool project where he went out actually and rescored a movie, and so he made the score for Metropolis. It's like an old black and white movie. It's kind of a sci-fi flick, but he just actually redid the score, and so you could play the movie because it was a silent film, and you play the score over
Yeah.
it. So I could see you doing something cool like that.
Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome. I feel like I definitely end up doing that one day for sure.
So now let's get to some dramatic questions. You're on Mousetrap and Ausla, and there's a little bit of a feud there. How does that affect you? Do you even care? Is it kind of weird being sitting in between that, because who knows if it's even a real feud? It's hard to tell. Because internet.
I don't know if it's a real feud even, to be honest. I feel like if they were to see each other in person, it'd kind of just be like, "Hey, man." Like, I feel like it would just end up being chill. But I definitely don't think that has anything to do, like, anything to affect me. I've met them both, and they've both been like super super nice to me, and I can't even, like, I'm not like trying to choose or anything. Like it's just both,
I didn't
they're
think you
both,
were.
yeah,
But
they're
it's just
both
kind of a
like,
weird situation to be in, you know what I mean? You're on one dude's label and then you're on the other guy's label, and they're both kind of having shit fights on Twitter. It's just kind of funny.
yeah,
But
and it's very strange. Like I'm not like that spiritual of a person, but like I am, I guess, in some ways, and maybe way more ways than I think. But it's very trippy to think about that, because I remember like even maybe, I don't know, maybe about a year ago from now, yeah, probably about a year ago, I had this little thought in my head that something like this would happen before I even got anything released on Mousetrap, before I got anything released on Skrillex's label. I just had a feeling that I was going to be associated with them both. And that's just like so trippy to think about, because it's just one of those things that go like over your head. Just think about it, and
sure.
you kind of like dream about it, and you really want that to happen. And I've like thought about it so many times, and it's just so weird now sitting here talking to you and you having asked that question, because it's like it literally happened what was in my head, you know? I didn't think that they'd be in a feud per se, but I just thought that there'd be some sort of complication between having to choose between the labels. But in my current situation, it's not really It's not really us choosing between the labels. It's kind of whatever music I send over that fits for whatever label is gonna be what we do. And at the moment, it seems like Mousetrap has been more accepting of like the sound so far. Anyways, like I know my sound's gonna continue to evolve and maybe get more releases on Skrillex's label, but at the moment, like Mousetrap kind of has my back, like really, like a lot. So I have more music coming out on Mousetrap soon,
Gotcha.
Actually.
I guess the last to make the trifecta, you have to release one on Mad Decent. You know, that's to get the Holy Trinity there. Diplo's label.
My manager mentioned something like that, but I just don't think I'd ever be suitable.
I'm just kidding. That's just kind of funny. Just because it's, you know, the whole, I mean, the internet really is a big, huge peanut gallery. If you watch what people troll on, it's just like people just kind of wasting time shit talking. Most of the time it doesn't really mean much. But let's get into some of the festivals you played this year. What were some of the favorites of 2015? I mean, you played some pretty big ones. What were some of your best experiences? Where did you think you were really kind of, I assume you DJ when you play live, or do you actually play a live set on Ableton?
Yeah, I don't use Ableton. I use USBs now.
Okay.
But I used to use Tractor. But anyways, my favorites, I think, well, the first one that comes to mind that's like the most obvious one that was my favorite is definitely Hard Day of the Dead. 1 second. I don't know what's going on with my throat right now. Anyways.
It's cold.
Hard Day of the Dead. Hard Day of the Dead in LA was by far like it was like a dream to not only play there, because that was one of the festivals that inspired me to produce music, but the whole vibe in that room, it was honestly indescribable. And I feel like the people who were there really understood what I was doing and understood my sound. I played all my own music, and it was just crazy. Oh my God. I was not expecting that at all. And whoever was doing my visuals absolutely destroyed it, killed it so much. It was very dark, very creepy visuals. While I was performing, I would actually look back for a minute just because I wanted to see what visuals the guy was making, because it was just the coolest visuals I've seen, like, for myself anyways.
Oh, so you didn't actually bring your own visuals. You had some guy that was actually mixing them for you. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I guess at Hard, there's a guy who does everybody's visuals, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not everybody's, but he was doing mine for some reason. And I'm pretty sure he was doing the people's before me and probably the people's after me. I'm not really sure, but whatever he was doing was, as soon as he got a feel for my sound, apparently, like, he actually messaged my management and stuff afterwards, so I know this, but apparently immediately he caught the vibe of my sound, and he found like the proper visuals to go well with my sound, and oh my God, just the visuals themselves inspired me even. Like, it had me thinking in a whole new way for visuals too, like, for the future and stuff. So he just killed it. I'm actually probably gonna message him again, to be honest.
Yeah, if you get a picture of some of those visuals, that'd be cool to include with the story to kind of show people what you're talking about.
Yeah. Oh wow, for sure. It was just some creepy stuff. Even just like static. There was some, like, there'd be moments of just static on the like TV static.
Yeah, I mean, the production those guys do, and just the kind of curation of talent, Hard's just kind of built their brand on that. They're probably one of the best out there for what they do. So it's I figured that would be one of your faves.
Definitely amazing. Tomorrow World was really cool too. Just the whole experience at Tomorrow World was cool to see that big stage production on the main, which I didn't play on the main stage, but at the end of the night when we were all chilling, like, in some like VIP area staring at the main stage. It was so weird. Like, I've never seen anything like that before in my life. It's like it's literally surreal to look at something that big and so much production into that, and like it almost takes you away from Earth for a minute. Like, literally it took my brain out to like a different planet looking at that stage, thinking like, what is this? Like, where am I? Literally, it's like so crazy.
It's like they almost took Disneyland, dismantled it and moved it to the forest. It's kind of insane what these guys are doing.
It's so crazy. Like, oh, just so weird how something like that can be built. Like, the lights were so bright and the music, it's just, can't even imagine how the people in the crowd felt. So, like, obviously I'm like completely sober at this event, and even I'm tripping out just staring at that main stage thinking like, oh man, there's probably people in this audience right now just like completely mind blown, just in literally a whole new dimension. I bet looking at that setup.
So the next question is, are you a Mac or PC girl? What are some of the programs that you're using to produce your music? What was kind of the learning curve? I mean, some people, especially when you're younger, you have a faster learning curve because a lot of this stuff is kind of, you're familiar with computers, you're native to it, you understand it. So what programs did you start working on, and what are you using now?
Well, first of all, I use Mac. The first program I ever messed around with was actually Ableton, which I use now. I messed around with it for like a minute or just like a bit, but I was like, this is way too complicated. And then what ended up happening was I tried to mess around with Fruity Loops. I messed around for that for like with a minute, like for literally just a little bit too. And I was like, no, I don't want to do this. And I literally pretty much just like closed my computer. Like literally I was like, this is like too complicated. And then I think what I needed was a little bit more inspiration, and then once I got more inspiration, which was actually from deadmau5, I reopened Ableton, and that was that. Once I reopened Ableton that day, I literally have not looked back since. So I remember I opened Ableton, and all I was doing was I was working in audio. I was not working in MIDI at all, which now I work way more in MIDI, but at the same time I use audio all the time too, like even... Sure. Even still, I think working in audio is so, like, you can just do so much. But anyways, at the time, working in audio was, like, all I knew. So it's just, like, throwing in samples, messing around, like, with all that I can do, and just trying to make anything that I could, not really knowing any rules and any boundaries. I was just doing whatever I wanted to do and just making whatever. And,
sure.
And, yeah, and pretty much immediately after making, like, some random songs, it's not that they were good, but it made me realize that I knew how to make music with regards to, like, simple arrangements, and I knew how to finish songs. And like once I started to finish more and more songs, I was making them so quickly, and people were like, how do you, like, you're making so much music so fast? And I was like, maybe I'm just like good at this. I don't know. And even though like I said, maybe the songs weren't that great, but it didn't even matter. I just knew that the fact that I was finishing songs, and I knew people who would take like weeks and weeks, maybe possibly even months to finish one song, and I was finishing them daily. I was like, okay, well, maybe there's some sort of, I don't know, there's some sort of skill here. And then that's literally all I did for the next like full year and a half. And I'll never forget that time. Like, I still make music all the time, don't get me wrong, but that pace that I had at the beginning was insane. Like, I don't have that pace anymore. I think it's because my standards now have raised so much for the music that I make. So, yeah, maybe I could make a song real quick. Like, after I finish the Skype call with you, maybe I could finish a song tonight, but it doesn't mean it's going to be something I'm super proud of. You know what I mean?
Sure. I think so, as you kind of start to go down the rabbit hole of production, I think a lot of producers start to get a little bit fussy and about the details. And I think now it's like the broad strokes, you're just kind of crushing the broad strokes. And I think probably as you get, move deeper down the rabbit hole, like I said, you'll start getting more anal retentive about Definitely. It. Maybe not. Maybe it's just your technique and your style is just to kind of just get in there and that's, work fast. Everybody's got their different workflow, which makes Ableton pretty interesting. Yeah,
it's very interesting to talk to other producers about their issues and their strengths and etc. It's cool to hear what they have to say. Like, I know Matt Zoe, he takes so much time on like every single sound, like the littlest detail ever, and like that's because he truly is like an expert. I'm not sure I've sat in the studio and seen somebody more just like he's literally a genius, And it's not even like he doesn't even particularly produce my taste in music. It's not even that. It's not even that I would play his music in my sets or anything. It's just, you can just hear it in the production, how much goes into his songs. And even just seeing the project files, it's just absolutely baffling. And it's inspiring for me too, to see somebody on that level. It just makes me want to step my game up so much, because I can't even imagine how my music is going to sound when I have his knowledge in production, Like, it's just going to completely change everything.
Yeah, I think it's just the more you work with more people, and because I've seen a lot of producers kind of evolve over the years, and it's just the more work you do and the more collaborating you do, you just start to pick things up that you wouldn't have done on your own, and your craft evolves, and that's the way I think most producers work. You're never going to learn everything, and you'll never know everything. It's just too vast. But you can become, a master for sure. So, anyways, let's get into some of the last questions here before we wrap. Who are some? I can hear a little bit of Trent Reznor in some of your tracks, especially that one you did with Gesaffelstein and Jean-Michel Jarre, the Conquistador track. And definitely, are you familiar with? Are you a big Nine Inch Nails fan, or does?
I'm not like I wouldn't say I'm a big Nine Inch Nails fan. I do love their music. Don't get me wrong. Like I've went and because I've been compared to them quite a few times. Sure. Went out of my way to like listen to like a few of their albums. But yeah, like I definitely really love the vibe. Oh, absolutely. But I can't just sit here and say I'm a huge fan, because if you asked me to name a song, I probably wouldn't be able to do it. But I love their music. Like from what I've heard, I love the vibe that they create. And I wouldn't say initially I was inspired by them, but after listening to their music, I'm more inspired, I guess, now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it seems like there's definitely elements in there that kind of that have that kind of Trent Reznor sound for sure. So let's go into like who some of the artists that you're currently like. Who are you looking at now that you're really digging, that like you would play their music, or either old school, new school?
Well, let me see. Like, I'm just trying to think.
I know it's a hard question. There's usually just so much music you listen to on a daily basis.
I wouldn't really say. Actually, you'd be surprised. I actually don't listen to that much music on a daily basis at all. That's why it's hard for me to answer the question, because
oh really? That's surprising.
Yeah, because nowadays I'm usually just either making music or just trying to make my own music as opposed to searching for other music all the time. But. And I wouldn't really say there's any new artists per se, because these artists have been around for a while, but maybe they're new to me because I've just found them or whatever. I like Proxy. I think I like one of his songs that I've been listening to lately. But yeah, I like Proxy. I like this other guy named Madame, and he's like this like cool French producer that's definitely like Gesaffelstein Boys Noise inspired. Let me see.
Yeah, you don't have to think of them all now, but maybe you could put together like a top 5 or top 10 list for your for the article. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, true. Oh yeah, I like Oliver too. Oliver is amazing. Yeah, he's like a really cool guy. Or people. I think there are like 2 of them.
Yeah, there's 2 guys.
But anyways,
I'm pretty sure there's 2 guys. So, yeah. Let's go for the last 2 questions here. Electronic music's a lot like action sports. It's a very dude heavy industry. Everywhere you go, it's most of the guys up there DJing and producing tend to be guys. How does that make you feel as, being a woman on the circuit and kind of entering this? Has it been an issue? Do you feel like there's any guys that are kind of giving you a little shit, or has it been guys being pretty receptive to you? I know that's kind of the canned question.
It's kind of interesting because when I was like young, I was always into sports, like playing basketball and volleyball, all these sports, and I'd always play football with like the guys outside and stuff. And I've always kind of been that one girl, like even as a kid, literally. I was always that one girl that just hung out with the guys and just always did guy things, like obviously sports and just everything. Like I've always, I don't get me wrong, I love hanging out with girls too, but there's always just been some sort of really big similarity between me and guys with regards to like our tastes and everything. And so now that this music thing came around, it's nothing shocking to me to once again be in a more male dominant industry. It's nothing shocking to me because I've been there so many times in so many different areas of my life. So this is definitely nothing new whatsoever, and I've been treated with a lot of respect, as I always have in other fields, and nobody like talks down to me whatsoever that I've met. And the only people that I've noticed to ever be sexist are random people, literally the most random internet trolls that are probably I don't even know. I actually made a tweet about this the other day. My assumption is like these people who randomly take time out of their day. They remind me of when I was like literally 12 years old playing Habbo Hotel and going on some games and just like trolling people because I was 12 and I didn't know anything better and I didn't do anything better and I didn't have
anything. These guys actually might be 12, so you never know.
so there you go. So my answer is sexism definitely exists in the industry a lot, but I'm sure it does. But in my personal experience so far, I have not noticed it at all, aside from these random trolls on the internet. The actual industry people, clubs book me like crazy. I get booked all the time. I have so many shows coming up, so much going on. There's amazing artists who take me on like the tours and stuff. So I'm going on tour with Destructo. He's a man and he's so supportive of women. I feel like the people who are actually in the industry, as far as I'm concerned, so far, I'm sure maybe one day I may get proven otherwise, who knows, but at the moment, everybody I've met in the industry, all the guys are so nice and so supportive and just very respectful. And so I haven't really noticed any sort of downside to being a woman in the industry. I have not noticed a single downside.
Yeah, I think that's one of the cool things about electronic dance music. It kind of comes from a place where it's a pretty even footing for everybody involved. It was, rave started really more about, it let everybody in. It wasn't like, that kind of culture. So I think that kind of still permeates through the industry, which is a good thing. And last but not least, what is 2016 looking like for you? Obviously, you've got a lot of shows coming up. Is there an album in the works or any collaborations? What should we know about your 2016?
Okay, honestly, I have a very, very crazy good feeling about 2016. Like every time I think of that, even just like the number 2016, like I just get like butterflies. I just know for a fact it's going to be a very good year, judging based on like what we have planned and everything. But basically, my goals for 2016 at the moment are just definitely obviously play a bunch of these shows that are coming up. Like January is going to be absolutely hectic. Like that's January and February, that's like nonstop touring basically because of the Destructo tour. But after that, I want to continue making a lot of music. I'm not even gonna say like there's gonna be an album or not because I don't feel like that's something I'd particularly fully plan. Like I don't know. I feel like if it's gonna happen in 2016, then yeah, maybe it's gonna happen. But I don't want to say it because if I say it, then it might hinder my creativity and it might make me feel pressured. And like when I feel pressured, it definitely hinders my creativity. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like it's not something I'd ever announce to the public until it's literally finished. But I'm definitely gonna keep working on a lot of music and hopefully get some cool, maybe unexpected but suitable collaborations, which I don't really have. Maybe I have a couple ideas in my head who I can collaborate with, but I really have a feeling that it's probably going to be a very spontaneous thing in the end, But let me see. I want to get a lot of cool stuff done for like my brand and stuff. So like I want to get a crazy visuals, crazy setup, everything. I want my shows already to be very memorable and almost like literally unforgettable. You know what I'm saying? I want that to happen for 2016, which is like dreaming big because it's literally right around the corner. But my management has the same mindset as me. They have the same goals. Like I have this show coming up in Toronto, actually in I think a couple weeks. But I'm headlining at this show and at the Hoxton, and it's like a club. And even my management's like, he's like, we should put like a bunch of money in to make the like stage production and the visuals awesome. And they, you know what I mean? Like they have the same mindset as me. We're thinking we want to make the experience unique. Like I don't like, you know what I mean? We want it to be very unique and memorable that people are talking about it even like potentially years from now. Do you know what I mean? Like the way that I talk about when I saw Deadmau5, like I will be talking about it for years,
Yeah, it's a medium that's all encompassing. You get the visuals, you get the music. It's all kind of like, you got to have everything hit these days. Everybody's kind of expecting that.
Yeah, so basically, for 2016, that's kind of what I want to do. I just want everything to be, everything to really come together, at least to like my potential for the year. I mean, obviously in the future, I'm hoping to only continue evolving, but I want 2016 to be a very big year for me. Like hit up probably like all my favorite not all of them, but like a lot of my favorite big festivals, be able to play at them. And thankfully my team has like the exact same vision, and it's very possible for them to make it happen,
Nice. Now I will leave on some words of wisdom. If you could give any words of advice to young women or young guys in their bedroom kind of making beats, what are some of the things that you would tell them to kind of say, hey, this is what you should do to stick with it or try to break? What would you say?
I guess I would just say have tunnel vision and literally don't focus on anything else but music, and any hate you have to like completely ignore. And what I mean by hate is not like critical hate on your music. I mean hate as in like people who literally just automatically say you're not gonna make it, like stuff like that. Like good luck with that. Like the industry's tough to get into. People like that. Like I can't even explain to you, as I'm sure every artist in the world can say this, I can't explain to you how many people doubted me and how many people would just say such rude things and such just unmotivational and just so unencouraging. So many people, no matter who you are, like, you're gonna get people like that, whether it be like, in some cases, people's parents, in some cases, just like their friends, anybody. But you can't associate with yourself with like any people like that. I remember there's been times where I actually completely at one point isolated myself from everybody. I was completely by myself in my room. I didn't talk to anybody for a full year because I was working on music, because I felt like anybody's comments or even the people's facial expressions when I told them what I was doing, like, I just remember seeing their facial expressions, like, thinking, like, you could just see it in their face that they're doubting you and kind of just, like, patting your back in sarcasm, being like, all right, good.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's like saying you want to be a professional soccer player or a football player. It's like big dream, and to go out there and do that and keep the tunnel vision, that's you know.
Exactly. And I always said this, like, I always say this, like, even to like my sister and stuff and people, I'm just like, the hardest part in succeeding is, I don't think the hardest part in succeeding is actually becoming a master of your craft and becoming good enough to be successful. I think the hardest part is literally ignoring these people who are constantly nagging you or talking down to you, because obviously as people we care naturally about what people think, and that can really sway somebody from actually pursuing their goals and achieving their dreams, you know. So I think that was a main thing for me. It's just having to ignore all the rude things that people would say all the time. So, and obviously now they're just probably so baffled, and they might even be inspired themselves. The fact that they were so rude to somebody and now they see that this person is succeeding. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's just, I guess I would just say, really just stay on your computer, stay working on music, and try not to like copy people's sound. Just try and be yourself. Like, it was kind of a natural thing for me to make the sound that I made because it was literally in my mind. But I don't know. Everybody has their own unique way of finding their sound and finding what music they're going to be making. So I guess just keep making a lot of music and just stay focused on it and put everything into it, because there's people around the world that are putting everything into it right now, and they're killing it, and it shows. Like, it shows that there's a big difference. You can see the people who are putting their lives into it and the people who are like kind of halfway doing it, you know?
That's good advice. So I think we're going to wrap, but thanks for joining us today for the interview. Congratulations again on all your success this year. It's been a pretty amazing trajectory you've had in 2015. I think 2016 is going to be equally as exciting, if not more so. So we will catch up with you soon. Have a good one, Isabel. Thanks.
Sweet. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Check out magneticmag.com.